Ladies and gentlemen, we're very glad to greet you here on our first webinar for the potential participants of the Open All Russia competition with the participation of the international partners for the development of the architectural and urban planning territories of the Russian family resort Novaya Anapa. During our webinar, so we will have several stages of our event. First of all, we will introduce to you the preliminary information about our competition, and later on we will move on to the Q&A session, which you can we organize in our chat, and we will read out your questions in order to take them into account, discuss them, and give you information as much as we possibly can. Our presentations will have slides, and we believe that it will help you to get a better understanding about the details of this competition. And I would like to give floor for the greeting address to Vyacheslav Shashkin, representative of the competition initiator and director of the Department for Master Planning and Development of the Territory, Tourism.RF Corporation. Thank you very much, Sergei, and dear friends. Good afternoon. I'm very glad to greet all of you here, and thank you very much for joining our first webinar, which will be about organization of this competition. And I have prepared a short presentation, and I would like to share with you and tell you a bit more about this resort, about its location, about the way we see it in future. Let me say again that this is one of the biggest current project for the touristic locations development. The total area of it is about 1,800 hectares, and this territory has about 280 sunny days a year. And this is a very big territory. This is a very big lot on which we are planning to build about 25,000 hotel rooms, and so different types of hotels, different type of touristic infrastructure, a different kind of educational centers, entertainment places, recreational center with the possibility of using the nature resources around this area, and a lot of other different tourist infrastructure. The territory is located on the Black Sea coast, so one of the main objects we're going to build, it's a sea marina for about 300 yachts and small boats, with all necessary infrastructure for maintenance of them. And we plan that by 2024 we will have about 100 investment lots, which we will be ready to offer to our investor. As a result, the tourist traffic, which we plan to grow very fast, it will be about 5 million people when the project is completed. Some more words about the climate peculiarities and some. Yes, the temperature. The on-season temperature, air temperature is about 26 degrees, sea temperature is 22 degrees. That's the average temperature of the seawater. It's a beautiful coastline, which we plan to use, of course, and we plan to have long beaches there. The sea is not very deep. You can just walk about 20 meters from coastline, and the depth will be about maybe 1 meter. And the peculiarity of the territory is that about 45 days a year, it is very windy with about 6 to 8 meters a second, so which creates very good conditions for wind-related sports and entertainment. Well, the location of the territory, as you will understand, it's on the Black Sea resort in Anapa region. not far from international airport Anapa, just about 26 kilometers from it, and in about 30 minutes you can get from international airport to resort territory. Not far from this area, there is a center of Anapa. It's about 30 minutes as well. We have 3 bays there, bay areas there. So this territory is surrounded with these big masses of water. And in immediate vicinity of this territory, about 1 hour, 1.5 hour drive, you can see very beautiful tourist magnets, as we call them. They're all different and historical, all connected with the agricultural projects. They will have a lot of wineries there, beautiful landscapes, which we can see there. And talking about the availability of this territory or accessibility of this territory, it is 41% of tourists come to this territory, come to this area using their own transportation, cars. So these are the main highways. So it's about 5 hours drive from Rostov-on-Don. On Sevastopol, you can get to about 5 hours. And to Krasnodar, the regional center, it will take about 3 hours. All these territories create potential 25 million visitors of our resorts. Of course, we do hope that these neighboring regions will become our suppliers of tourist traffic who will visit our resort. Well, I have to say that we have our competition not as a separate event, so this is the process which is going on in parallel with the master plan of development of this territory, and along with some engineering work which is necessary in order to get the detailed idea about the concept. All these 3 processes are going alongside. We're using the same timeline, and my colleagues will tell you more about it, about this competition. And but what I want to say is this master plan for this territory development will finish in the first quarter of 2024, and the engineering work we plan to finish in September this year, so that we can use them for our architectural and urban planning solutions.
The total area we are working on now is about over 900 hectares, some 600. We plan to dedicate for the development of the area for the facilities hosting, and over 300 hectares will be dedicated for public spaces and parks. The specific area for the territory would be creating promenades, active embankments on the side of the Black Sea, the length of over 7 kilometers. We also intend to have a calm promenade on the side of the Liman that would be connecting the resort cluster facilities, which are calmer in essence. When we look at the next slide, you see a preliminary visualizations of the territory of the project, solutions that can be implemented here. But clearly, we are expecting active work of contest participants on the development of architectural, urban solutions for the upcoming territory. Now, we do hope that participants of the contest will bring us new modern ideas to create a comfortable and safe, attractive environment for our guests. Oh, it's clear that the architectural code demonstrates unity, demonstrate the single style comfortable area, assuring the safety and security of the presence of our guests. And you see that the nature is offering us great opportunities for the development of this territory, and we should be using those quite tenderly, bring and find the best opportunities for using them. The Black Sea side, the Liman opportunities with the balneary resources we have there, so as to offer the opportunities for both recreation and healing resorts, give opportunities for children to enjoy this. We intend to give this a priority. The development of the territory would include the measures for assuring sustainable development. Obviously, the existing scenarios of use related to the nature resort of Anapa that will be preserved. We do not plan to locate any capital construction facilities in the natural reserve area. The total extent of these natural resources can reach up to 25 kilometers. We intend to be, of course, doing the engineering support and protection of these areas and accounting for the landscape in place. At the territory of the project, we would be creating wind-resistant green belt out of the trees, or promoting the growth of trees and bushes that are naturally growing there. Despite the fact that the main topic of today's meeting, the webinar, is organizing and conducting the contest, I still wanted to say a few words that the Corporation of Tourism is a development institution. Thus, it is offering various preferences, uses a mechanism of interaction with its future investors. As a result of the development of the master plan, which would be completed by the first half of 2024, we would then shape investment lots that we would be offering. Talking about the support measures that corporation has, includes both funding and co-funding jointly with investors, the possibility of using 141 decree of the government and thus attracting preferential loans for infrastructure, for tourist infrastructure development, as well as necessary highway and road infrastructure for accessibility. On top of that, we are obviously having a number of other programs, national, federal, regional level projects that can be used as sources of funding for investor project support. As it was said, we are looking at this in the orchestrated manner, looking at what projects can best fit for us to be able to use these. And maybe a few words about the timeline of our roadmap. You see that we start architectural project, a contest project in June. On the 13th of June, we have made the announcement of the start, and we are ready to work with the participants. have invited today's event, one of the first ones dedicated to the contest. The first stage that would go through the end of August. We will identify contest finalists. There would be 4 of them, and they would be able to start active work beginning 1st September 2023. We expect to finalize the architectural contest at the end of November, beginning of December. From December, the solutions that we would receive from the finalists, we would start using them in the master plan. And by March of 2024, we would complete the development of the master. And then beginning June 24, we are ready to start working with investors on the investment lots. Dear colleagues, I'm thus completing my presentation, and we are ready to keep on going. Looking forward to hear your questions and ready to respond to them or hear your questions and go into details. Thank you very much. Vyacheslav Anatolyevich will go into the procedural questions and then the terms of reference. Maybe first about the regulation and the contest procedures. Our contest is open. It is 2 stages. It is Russia-wide with international participation, which means that our foreign colleagues can join their Russian partners to take part in the contest, but it's important to note that foreign colleagues can only take part in the contest if they have Russian partner. It's a joint participation as a team or a consortium. The objective is the selection of the optimal architectural, planning, and urban development solutions for the development of the future tourist territory. And the subject is the development of architectural, planning, and urban development solutions for the future tourist territory and defining the strategy of its development. Participants of ours, these can be either individual participants, separate legal bodies, architectural bureaus, as well as consortia, which are joining forces of a number companies as one team. Professional participants should have competencies and skills in the complex development of territory and urban development, architecture, planning, developing concepts and projects of public spaces, master planning. And it's clearly important for us that the team is capable to bring into their team competencies in economics, finance, landscape design, and graphical design as well. We are not only having an option for professional participants, but an option of a special participant, a separate nomination set up on the Tourism.RF Corporation initiative in order to promote, develop, and invite young student community, young professionals. And in this nomination is open for student communities that can have 5 or more students of respective majors, either students or graduates. And that nomination will be studied by the jury and expert council as a separate nomination of our contest. Contest finalists are the ones that are ending up being in top 3 as a result of rating by the jury. It's important to note that all applications filed in the first stage of the contest will go through qualification analysis and expertise. Jury members will be giving them respective points, and the 3 applications that get first, second, and third in the final rating will go into stage 2 and thus would be able to take part in the contest. Please note that applications as part of the special participant will be studied separately. There would be a different rating, and the application that would get first place for among the special participants, the young teams. One would also go into finals. So in the finals, we would have 3 professional and 1 student or youth team that would demonstrate the potential of the new generation of architects and urban planners. Let us now look at the schedule of our contest in more detail. You are seeing key dates that might be important for your planning and potential participation in the second stage. Today is the 27th of June. We are running this setup initial webinar to talk to you about the contest. Please note that this is not at all limiting your possibility of contacting us. And if we understand that the number of questions or the need for consultation is quite substantial, relatively substantial, we will be very happy to run the additional webinar so that you would be able to concentrate on special aspects of the contest, but still we are inviting you to be looking at using a hotline, email or phone that will be providing information and responding to you in either Russian or English, so that you'll be able to prepare best in filing your outcome results. On the 17th of August, the finalists will be announced. Before that, the jury hearing, it will be preceded by jury hearing, respective points. And on the 18th of August, the work on the development of contest proposal starts. What does it mean for participants? You are all registered at the official website. And in your account there, you would see all the data, all the details necessary for you to be able to run your work properly. But for you to be able to dive into all aspects in details, to walk the territory of design and planning with your feet, meet the experts and local community and the representatives of the executive body. An offline seminar is foreseen for you at Anapa. You will have a chance to come to Anapa to be able to have a clear impression. Preliminarily, the dates are 11th of September, 15th September in Anapa itself, in the Russian Federation. Please note at the second stage, we are not just giving you some tasks, we are consulting you. We have also foreseen an intermediary presentations which would give a possibility to you to demonstrate to where you are and let the jury and expert council to give feedback in a way it's an extended consultation on the projects that you are developing. Each consultation for each finalist will be done in the closed mode, in the sense that at no way would other team learn about the ideas that you are developing. This is an opportunity for you to hear at the second stage, at mid-route, the pre-assessments, comments of experts and jury, for you to be able to account for that in the final presentation. On the 9th of November, you would have to turn into your final solutions, and on the 30th of November, the jury hearing and selection of the winner will take place. Don't be surprised for this significant distance between the turning and the selection. The jury is studying qualification analysis, technical expertise, preparation, so that all jury members would be able to interact with, be properly prepared to interact with you specifically at the final hearing on the 30th of November, you will be defending your thesis in person at the jury hearing. It is preliminarily planned for Moscow. And on the 1st of December, the outcome would be announced. The prize fund of the contest is 18 million rubles. You see how it is being distributed between all the places. Important to note the correlation between the place you get and the amount of the prize fund share that you would receive. You will receive 5, 3, 2, or 2 millions, dependent on the place you get. The special participant is awarded separately. If they are satisfied in completing their work in necessary amount, they're getting 1.5 million rubles. For your work to be done comfortably so that you can comfortably invest into that work, a fixed 2 million ruble award is given at the beginning of the second stage to each of the teams, and the special participant is getting 500,000. The jury is consistent of different bodies, executive, federal ministries, and departments responsible for the areas. It's important to note, yes, please do a slide back. The jury is being chaired by the Deputy Chairman of the Government of the Russian Federation, Dmitry Chernyshenko, which by itself is speaking about the status of the contest, which is an important event for the architectural practice of Russia. As part of the contest, also, we are having an expert council. Expert council includes people with the expertise on behalf of the executive, as well as key institutions and scientific bodies that include the expertise based on the areas of knowledge and dimensions of the terms of reference. Please know that both the jury and the expert council includes international expertise, leading experts of the world, to assure that we have experience exchange, as well as foreign international body experts, China, Singapore, Saudi Arabia, and other countries, that will help us to make this process as objective and international as possible. And once again, I would like to draw your attention to the fact that throughout the contest, we are having a bilingual website operating, novaya-anapa.com, with all information published, news feed, documents being placed, and everything necessary so that you make a develop a maximum understanding of the contest. Please be visiting the website, and please note that we are also having a telephone hotline number +7 for Russia, 495 city code, and 1234553. It's a bilingual communication channel. Once dialing, you can choose the language, which is either Russian or English. Our office is working in 2 languages. And feel free contacting our hotline should you need a live person-to-person consultation over the telephone. If your question requires a more detailed expertise or written answer, please email at info@novaya-anapa.com, and you would receive the response in the language in which you would reach us out. Please feel free to use this contact data as a single communication channel, irrespective of what organization or experts you would like to reach out to.
Whether you would like to get answer from an operator, member of the jury, or from the government involved in this process. So we give you a universal channel for communication so that we can forward your questions to the experts, so they will provide you with the answer. And using this communication channel, you can get all pertaining and necessary information. And let me draw attention of our foreign colleagues that all information which we discussed today will have English version, and all information will be uploaded in our news. And we also will have a handout booklet on our website, both in Russian and in English, so you can use English version of our site and use English language materials. So we are accepting applications until the 13th of July. So please take care of the timeline, the deadlines. This is the open competition. It's completely transparent. You have to understand then the system will automatically block the application as soon as the deadline expires, and we cannot influence on this. So we are asking you, would you please plan your work in order to fit the timeline and deadline. And now, dear colleagues, we would like to give floor to Tatyana Obabko, the head of the urban planning development of the resort territories of Krasnodar area, where we have where our site is located. So, Tatyana, the floor is yours. Good afternoon. I would like to tell you about the peculiarities and the specifics of this territory and of the development of the resorts of Krasnodarsky area. And the territory of the Krasnodar area is subdivided into 7 touristic areas, and so the 7th one is not on this slide because these are the basically agricultural area, but the whole territory is very interesting, and it has different specific features. And we are now talking about the 2nd zone, which is the Sochi, Sirius, Anapa. So this territory is basically for the cultural, educational, event-related events, culture-related events in this territory. We but basically all of these 7 areas are involved in touristic business, tourist business. And in this map, you can see these areas, these zones. And this is the yellow one, which is Anapa, Novorossiysk, Gelendzhik, Tuapse, Sochi, Sirius. So these are the areas which is very well developed, and we have a lot of investment projects. And Blagoveshchensk area is one of our priorities, in which we have here. And the next slide, please. So what are the reasons for development of this area? So I don't know any other territories in which you can consider and but which you can have better conditions. It's very good climate, and you have already mentioned that we have about 280 sunny days. In Anapa, we have about 300 sunny days a year. So we have a lot of mineral water springs and different types of mineral waters, which is the Semigorsko-Rayevskaya springs. So they are all located in this area. We have beautiful sand beaches, and in our area we have sand beaches, the quartz sand, which allows to have a wonderful time along the sea line. So this territory is very diverse, landscape-wise, nature-wise, and it's very close to the mountains, very close to small little bays along the sea line. And when you get in this area, so you can see and enjoy all different types of sea-related landscapes. The flora and fauna, very diverse. We have a lot of nature resorts, the nature reserves, and national parks. As for Anapa territory and Blagoveshchenka, so it's a very big transportation hub in which we have seaport and we have airport, international airport, and it's the automobile transportation hub. So from which area you can reach any neighboring regions very quickly, to Crimea, to Sochi, to central parts of two big cities like Rostov and Krasnodar. The history of this region is very rich. A lot of archaeological sites, archaeological reserves, and we also have direct communication with the Krasnaya Polyana, which is a mountain ski resort. So when you get in one resort area, you can, in just about several hours, get to different climate zone, different climate. So this is the list of our priorities, and this is our scheme of territorial planning in which we put out our territories. So this is family and the children resort, this is priority. Then for young people, for most advanced people, historical aspect, ecological, sport. Then sea cruises, because we plan to build a marina, so educational, cultural, Olympic sport infrastructure, because we trained our football Olympic team there. Of course, business direction, ecological, ethnography, winery, then water sports like diving, medical, and so we can talk about a lot. So we have a lot of high quality fruit and vegetables and everything, and we have very good wineries there. And of course, scientific. So these are the main trends, the main directions which we consider as the ones which we plan to develop in the future. Anapa, as it is a unique territory, and these are the pieces of the master plan for Anapa development, and this Vyacheslav area is highlighted as the separate independent big cluster, which would allow us additionally to give an impulse to development of Anapa. So these are the specifics and peculiarities. So, well, first of all, this is the area which is in the second part of GSO. So the federal legislation regulates the usage of this area, what kind of infrastructure we can have there, how we can develop it. And we also, you see this checkered area. So this is the protected area. This is protected area, the sand dunes. It's a unique territory with its unique flora and fauna. And this is a very, very valuable territory which we have to protect by all possible means, and not be careful not to damage it. And also on the next slide, you see this. So Anapskaya Perepis, so there are 5 different areas. So this is the specially protected area where you cannot do anything there. Then we have the agricultural area. So these are special bays in which you can and grow fish and have fish industry, and the recreational zone where you can have beaches and everything. Well, every plan which you have to build there, your infrastructure must be get permission from the Ministry of the Natural Resources of the Krasnodarski area. So these are the cultural heritage sites, and so these sites are studied we haven't get the whole information about it completely. So these are we have the sites which and the important places which are registered and are considered as the monuments and especially protected sites. And in this area, we have to conduct more research, more investigation. So, and we have to be very, very careful in this area because we have a lot of objects of cultural heritage. And this area where we have a lot of excavations. I already told a lot about Anapa. Anapa is one of the oldest cities in Russia. It's more than 2,500 years old. And a lot of ancient cities located there. And there are about 70 different historical monuments. And the climatic conditions and the recreational potential is very high. The General Assembly of the Sea Resort Recreation mentioned Anapa is one of the best recreational areas in the world, and we had a lot of and this city is considered one of the safest cities in Russia. More than 60% of it's just 1 or 2 stars, and but the 3-star hotels probably are in the most demand, and so that is why the attractiveness of this area definitely will grow because the hotels and the other places will become more comfortable. So in 2019, we had more than 4 million people, and about 60% of them were just families. And well, it's we had the coronavirus, as you remember. So the 2019 is the before COVID, the most successful year. So we continue developing. We organize new touristic routes, and a lot of people visit the protected areas as excursions. We organize a lot of forums, festivals, a lot of other events. And this is the key problems. So the key problem is that in Anapa, we have a lot of hotels, but Anapa used to be a resort for children. It's a unique place, and so that's what we would like to continue. And we had a period when a lot of residential apartments were built on the area, but then we administered law which limits building hotels not closer than 500 meters from the sea. And so the algae problem is which we have next to the city beaches, next to Blagoveshchenka in rural area. We don't have algae. And when we organize new beaches and for the future resorts, so we will improve the beach area and will provide better quality for people who will come. And there's many resorts in Russia. Probably the service is not enough, and we have on season and off season, and we don't have any quality standards in this area. And in conclusion, I would like to say about over-tourism. Over-tourism, so this is Anapa resort in on season when we have so many people there. We have and we have to be very, very active and apply a lot of efforts to avoid the situation. And so we have to extend the beaches and make them comfortable and accessible and available for people. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I'm giving floor to Yana Ness, the Chief Analytics for the International Urban Laboratory. So this presentation will be about this territory and its context. The Krasnodar area is on the southwest in Russia, and its economy is developed in construction industry, energy, business, agribusiness, information, communication technologies, recreational and tourist areas. So these are one of the main components of the economic potential for Krasnodar area. So tourism is actively developed in mountain area and in the plain areas as well. So the municipality, Anapa, when the city district is on Tamansky Peninsula, Anapa has a special place, and it's a significant and important transportation hub, and it has status of the federal resort, mainly for the treatment of children and family recreation. So this area is very important for the economy of this area. Anapa city is administrative center of Anapa city. And the territory is next to Anapa Bay, Taman. And there's competition territory has this following areas. You can see it on the map, and it is washed by the Black Sea. So the territory is located 35 kilometers from Anapa, and it's part of the transportation perimeter of we have specially protected areas, which specially protected territory of the regional importance, the natural park Anapsky Perepis. And this area of this territory is 1,800 hectares, and the preliminary territory for the design and architecture is about 1,000 hectares, so it can be used in competition. Well, thank you very much, Yana, and I'm giving floor to Irina Akutova, representatives of the Commonwealth Partnership, so that we can talk about preliminary zoning and technical economic indicators, which will be very important for our participants, especially on the second stage. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Let's start. Slide number 1. My presentation will consist of 3 key blocks. First one is target audience, then technical and economical indicators we have calculated for the territory, as well as preliminary functional zoning scheme. It was already said that Anapa is a resort city. Let us say that it has about 1/4 of rooms at the Black Sea of Krasnodar region. The warm sea is the most demanded natural resource for all of the Russians. But we are seeing a high seasonality of demand in Anapa. So let's say especially high from July through September is the hottest area. So on average, 31% is of the stays are getting this period. Over half of those hotels are closed, or resort areas are closing up for the winter. So in that sense, the city is dying out for the winter. Older infrastructure, patio infrastructure, the embankment, attractive facilities are related to, as well as with the and green territories. So over here, I'm demonstrating the overall picture for Krasnodar region. Maybe a few words about the fact that seasonality is more or less smooth thanks to the territories such as Sochi, where there is all seasonal stay opportunities due to Krasnaya Polyana, ski resort, etc. And in that sense, there are more visits to Sochi for the weekend, more of the shorter stays. People are coming from Rostov-on-Don, Moscow, Stavropolye, St. Petersburg. And in here, we are having a more diverse demand. Some business tourists, maybe 8% of the tourism, some business and education is about 3 to 8%. At the moment, Anapa are the best sand beaches in northern Black Sea, popular and inexpensive place of stay, as well as the good children's stay resort. A wonderful wind for kite and surfers. Not well-developed infrastructure for business groups, deficit of the modern comfort level stay areas, stay places. And obviously lack of attractive public spaces, comfortable promenade zones. In that sense, the task is to create an all-seasonal federal resort, fill it in with different formats of placement areas and offer them the infrastructure for sport, recreation, various events, etc. A single space for the tourist infrastructure, etc. So we are looking at the main groups, long stay, sport teams, additional education teams. Obviously, we need to develop proper congress sites, resort facilities. On top of the key audience, such as families with children, the couples, business groups, and resorts. The additional ones, I would say that people staying for longer stay at apart hotels, sport teams and community, as well as supplemental education would be another element. And on those circular diagrams, we are demonstrating the preferred stay types for respective groups and classes thereof. Over here, we are demonstrating on one side what is there at Anapa now and what we'd like to see in the new Anapa in 2032, thanks to the properly developed infrastructure for various groups of clients. We see a possibility of 66% load averageability, different groups by the purpose of the travel, as well as the types of stay, 36% in 3-star apart hotels, about a third without extended functions demanded by families with children, as well as longer stay, 25% in 4 stars, and about 9% in 5-star hotel. Over here, we are describing target groups. We have questioned 1,000 Russians and residents of Kazakhstan, Belarus, spending time at the warm seas over the course of the last 3 years. Over 35% of the participants were families with children. They prefer all-inclusive, clean sea, swimming pool, children infrastructure. Aquapark is being noted by many and obviously safe space. Second largest audience is couples, 29% of the demand. Couples without children, they are mainly interested in gastronomy, quite often noting visits to cheese restaurants or wine yards, etc. Business groups, no more than 5% of those surveyed are visiting the warm seas with business purposes, but quality areas with full format MICE infrastructure, business tourists, in case of Sochi, are buying 32 to 47% of the rooms. In that sense, it's becoming an important segment that hotels are catering to at resorts as well. Now, recreation and health groups, about 30% are demonstrating this interest. Those are coming on resort dedicated visits. They are visiting 3 to 5 medical health procedures a day. They are not having much time left for other activities, maybe walking eco tours, some parks, etc. And I guess the most interesting services as part of that resort, people are doing the checkups, relax activities, losing weight. A more modern set of services that we are used to. Even though the classical seaside stay is not being forgotten either. Long stay, 5% of those surveyed are liking to stay at the seaside from 3 weeks and longer, sometimes over the winter. This audience needs a proper city infrastructure, pharmacies, kids playground, etc., exercise rooms, etc. Sport groups and communities, these might be children and youth coming for a competition. They need sports infrastructure oftentimes. These are groups sensitive for the cost of stay. They are staying in 3 to 6 person rooms, and for sports people, 4 to 5 times catering a day is important. Adult audience, sportsmen doing kite surfing, paraplaning, as well as sailing, etc. People are noting that about 400, 500 kite surfers are riding near Bogovichynskaya village, and they like to stay in their own group, not intermixing with regular tourists. Additional supplementary education groups are a narrow segment, but from the point of view of social functions, as well as providing the clientele for the facilities in low season or in between seasons, they are an attractive audience for hotels which are offering to host various educational programs for adults and children. Next slide. We've looked at a number of resorts and tried to figure out the most comfortable spaces for one hotel, for one stay place. And we studied an example of Imeritinskaya lowland. And look at the territory of a land plot with the number of rooms. I guess I would go through at Cancun. The development is more dense, related to the fact that the city has an active center, and the number of functions is removed out of the hotels and resorts. And in Bilek of Turkey, the area per hotel room is 260 square meters of the territory of the resort. That's related to the fact that land resource is not limited to quite an extent at shoreline, but when you are walking out of the resort, a tourist is often unable to have a promenade because there is no public infrastructure oftentimes. In that sense, hotel complexes need to be offering a full package as a part of their dedicated resorts on catering, on wellness infrastructure, on entertainment. Please, let's proceed. On top of that, we looked at the experience of Krasnaya Polyana resort, a modern complex resort, where one hotel room has about 140 square meters of the surrounding territory, 12,500 square meters of erections per hectare, quite comfortable for the tourist, and containing all elements of tourist infrastructure, from the catering, from the entertainment, etc. Having analyzed the experience of all resorts, we are offering the following spaces for separate places, locations: 180 for upscale, 130 for 4, 110 for 3. Apart hotels don't expect to have a significant adjacent territory, so the clients would be having 180, 30, 110, etc. We are offering not to distinguish the hotels by MICE and non-MICE hotels, because both would be working with all of the segments of the demand. And each of the types of the hotels has to be offering quite a comfortable space for tourists to use during their stay. On this slide, you see technical and economic indicators that we have calculated based on the international hotel operator standards. You see the types of stays, 5+5, 4, 3, and apart hotels. I won't be going into details. You would get these materials. You have identified the typical sizes of hotels based on the comfort level that has to be offered at, say, 5-star areas. No more than 200 to 120 rooms. 3 to 4 stars hotels, about 500 and 300 rooms, respectively. These are figures to operate these facilities effectively, as well as assure economies of scale and proper implementation. Altogether, we are expecting to have over 2 million square meters of construction. 197 hectares is expected to be taken by the collective staple areas, 100.7 square meters per hectares. 4 to 5-star hotels are to have swimming pools. 5-star hotels even open heated swimming pools, so that the resort could be working year-round. Additional tourist infrastructure. It's a must to have multifunctional hall for business, congress, exhibit, and concert events. Balneology center for hotel with the resort of 4 stars. Academy of Tourism as an educational component. And staff of the resort would have to be trained in line with modern hotel service standards. Wind sport types, aqua complex, infrastructure for children, stay, experimentarium for children, a resort. That's basically a kids a sports club for that can host various kids competition. Kids club and gaming center. You see attraction, etc. So in this sense, entertainment and education training there. On top of that, we are offering a creation of centralized aquathermal and bath complex at the hotel of 5 stars with the open heated swimming pool. One of the key areas of the anchors of the resort would be guest marina and demonstrating the format. Wine tourism and gastronomy center, obviously tourist welcome center, attraction center, roping park, that's an open area for kids to exercise, creative labs, sport rentals, as well as commercial infrastructure. Going forward to the planning of tourist infrastructure and functional zoning, we looked at the territorial landscape. We looked at number of zones. Zone number 1 is the lower landscape, active public functions that are demanding high pedestrian flows. This area gives the most comfortable access to beach territory, so we can have the densest development, offering a comfortable visit to the beach and the maximum number of tourists. Second, zone number 2, that's the upper landscape, 15 meters plateau. Some resorts and calmer zones can be located there. Zone 3 is 15 to 30% high zone, difficult access to the beach. So the sites that do not demand regular access to the beach is to be located here. And zone number 4 is as an axe is an upper area, but with the accessibility to the beach using if we organize special bridges. Talking about the functional zoning scheme, first is super blocks of quarters 400 by 400, which would have both public and servicing transportation, as well as pedestrian and bikes. Another size is 150 by 150. Step is area to be our routes to be used only by pedestrians and bikers located in the central parts of the quarters, as well as intermediate 150 by 400 are meant also for use only by pedestrians, bikes, micromobility, calmer areas.
So this kind of grid will provide the maximum comfort and convenience for people who live there, and for the visitors. It will help to improve the accessibility to different parts of this area. So next important principle is mobility. So we have to take into account you can enter through the Bulgarishinski area from the bay, and in this area we plan to have parking lots, the transit area, transportation transit area, in order to again improve the accessibility and mobility for people who arrive. So we think it to divide streets two categories. So streets, mainly pedestrian streets, and streets for bicycles, and the streets on which automobile traffic is allowed. So can I just rewind back? And apart from that, we propose to limit the possibility of for passenger cars to provide safety for people, for pedestrians, so people can use their cars, but only until the parking lot, or if you have a special pass, you can park your car next to the hotel you're registered in. And we also want to prohibit any kind of vehicles along the sea line. So these are the different areas and its accessibility. And as you see that it's like 5-10 minutes walk around this area. So there will be the main magnet points, attraction points. So we believe that all this area will be very comfortable for the pedestrians. So we try to motivate people not to use their cars. So the green grid is the area what we plan to do as well, green area, and we want to plant and we want to have a central park which would connect the activity zones with the quiet walking areas, promenades, and we also plan to have broad boulevards which would connect main attraction points. And in the protected area, which occupies more than half of this territory, we plan to have the ecological paths and on this area which faces the Burgas Bay, we also plan to have ecological paths and vintage points or observation sites. And on this slide, you see we have the key magnets, so key attraction points of this resort, and the center of the wind sports we plan to put next to Burgaskaya Kosa, where we plan to organize events for the surfers. The spa infrastructure, as you can see, is in a very convenient location as well. The attraction park, the gaming center, and aquatic sports center can be located in the center of this resort in order to make it most convenient and comfortable for the visitors, as well as the information center, so that or business center, and so that people use it to their convenience. We plan to have active embankment, which we call it, and along this active embankment, we plan to have different kind of restaurants, cafes, and some other entertainment places. Quiet promenade will be located along the Liman, and we plan to make it circular so that people can go around in bicycles. Next slide. So we plan to have 3 stages. Our first stage, we plan to build an embankment, an active embankment, and which we plan to have it along the sea line with the key attraction points. On the second stage, we plan to build hotels. On the third stage, which is the most remote area from the sea line, so territory with public spaces and resorts and hotels. On this slides, we see the functional zoning of the territory with the area of this zones. Also, I have already mentioned the main points and the main ideas. I am not going to dwell on it, so this is something that you can look in detail by yourself. So let me say again, so this territory is very valuable, especially the area which is adjacent to Black Sea. So we plan to have 5- and 4-star hotels, and then we plan to go down to 2- or 3-star hotels, which will be located further from sea lines. So the noisiest areas, of course, will be the ones close to the first line, to marina. And so this is the dominant which attracts tourists and the most intensive tourist traffic. And next to this area, we'll plan to have a park. And further to closer to Liman, to the west, we believe that the infrastructure will be not so dense. So this is it. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And let's move on to technical assignment, which you will have to do, so which is obligatory for the tourists. So I'm giving floor to Tatyana Terechova, representative of the Moscow Planning Institute. She is responsible for this huge big work. Well, Sergei, thank you very much for this introduction. Dear colleagues, good afternoon. And so let's have a look at technical assignments. So the detailed technical assignment, it's a document which includes generalized view on the final result and the requirements to this result. So the key conditions for its implementation. The technical assignment, it's not just something isolated. No, it is connected with a unique territory with its requirements based on the laws and regulations of the Russian Federation. And for our international participants, it will be important because Russian Federation has its own different requirements. And so the structure of the technical assignment has the general corpus of information about the territory, what it is, and what are the main legal limitations, laws and regulations. So the technical assignment also has the format and content of the materials, and it also formulates some kind of additional requirements which will give more information about the evaluation, how this proposal will be evaluated by the jury. So we will talk about the content of the proposals, and this part of technical assignment has 5 sections. So first one is general information, in which we expect to formulate mission, the purpose, or the slogan of this territory and its positioning, and based on these key peculiarities or limitations on which the finalists can use and implement the second stage, the second block. So this is the functional model and its development. So how they're planning to saturate it with these sites, and how they plan to develop it as the family resort or 4 seasons resort, and what are the key elements of infrastructure they plan to erect there. The third part is the detailed design solutions, so transportation grid, the infrastructural requirements with all necessary engineering models, how this project would function with all these necessary engineering solutions. So recreational infrastructure and its relationship with the protected area, how they plan to use it within this protected infrastructure from the viewpoint of development of the social infrastructure, also medical facilities, sport facilities, and the architectural approach and small architectural forms which will be used there. So the next slide, please. The fourth one has a detailed development of the architectural solutions according to seven territories for the project. And so we plan that out of the seven, we plan to single out one which will shape up the dominant area of the torrent, and the second dominant will be the marina area. So you must pay more attention to it as well, especially those. Each and every of these seven territories in technical assignment says that you should have a separate explanation about the arts architectural solutions and of course technical and economical evaluation. So the fifth section will be the management model, implementation and functioning of this territory, how it's going to work, about the financial indications of profitability, efficiency, what instruments are you planning to use in order to make it efficient and profitable. Apart from content and composition of this technical assignment, we formulate in the technical assignment additional requirement to the principles and conditions, the functioning model, what it must have, the navigation on this territory. So the principles and peculiarities of the green grid of it, because one of the foundations of this project is the protection and preservation of this natural environment. And so next one, of course, the territory improvement, the materials which will be used, and especially in marine areas. So we will have special requirements to the video presentations, the financial model, what kind of parameters you should have in financial model and in what way, and of course the legal basis for it. So the technical assignment also has a number of tables and templates and which you have to fill during your work. So the format of this work has been named already in your invitations, as Sergei said, and it includes two types of work, two works. So it's Russian and English printout, and hard copy and soft copy. So two obligatory documents, album and tablets, and the third one, it's just additional, it's up to the finalists. Next one, the soft copy. Soft copy is just a presentations for the jury meeting. So we expect to have the most important slides which explains the essence of your project. We expect soft copy, of course, a video and 3D makeup of the territory, which should include visual models for small architectural forms or some other objects of infrastructure. So the competition criteria will include the technical criteria, technical expertise, and the criteria of the expert council, which we mentioned at the beginning of our webinar. The technical expertise is based on evaluation of the compatibility of the formal indications, so that whether we have finalists will have all necessary materials or not. And the technical expertise So the key indicator will be you have to explain the ecological aspects. You have to explain how you plan to deal with it. So these ones, and we plan in this technical expertise plan to compare what we require and what you have. And of course, we will check the evaluation, how you use and how you take care of the key guiding documents of Russian Federation. So basically, it will be based on how we fill the templates and tables. And you have some marketing instruments or some other sources of information. So the criteria for the expert evaluation will be the more creative indicators which are connected with implementation of the goals and objectives of the optimal development of the solution. So the reasonable explanations of how to use this territory. It's a family resort, so it must be detailed enough and taking into account the world experience, the economical feasibility, and the engineering aspects of this project. So yes, as for the expert evaluation, it must be accessible and design code and using materials which you plan to have there. And so the profitability of your solution. So it's so these are the more creative aspects which we just cannot calculate them. So this is basically it, which I wanted to tell you about technical assignment. So that's it. And well, thank you very much. Yana, the floor is used now. Let's dwell on the criteria of evaluation. So, well, these criteria must be transparent and open. So here we'll talk about the criteria for the application evaluation. So first of all, it should be the application as it is, which you have to fill on your account on official site. Then you have to have portfolio with 5 relevant projects in the urban planning, urban architecture, and so public spaces, master plans, and so others, developing the tourist and recreation clusters and the marketing, research and economies. Then you have to have essay, which describes the idea of development of this territory. So the possible architectural solutions and urban planning solutions with a possible allocation of different types of infrastructure, public spaces, hotels, and of course the visual component with the main schemes and models.
The criteria of the assessment of the applications at the first stage. The assessment is done by 2 blocks. First is portfolio assessment, and the assessment criteria here is the relevance of the projects shown therein to the contest tasks and the degree of the implementation of respective projects in the portfolio, and the assessment of the essay, the approaches used for the ideas of the urban development projects and proposals, styles, etc. to be used for the criteria. Essays are assessed using the following criteria. And sorry, the special participant, for special participant category, we are having also 2 blocks. One is portfolio assessment, and then here the relevance of the represented projects to the specific contest, as well as their essay assessment, whether how that essay is matching the nature of the contest and what it contains. Well, the presentation part of today's webinar is thus over, and we would be ready to move to Q&A session. The part of the questions were placed into the chat along the way. Some were possibly responded to in the presentation. Let's take a look if you have any additional questions and add them into the chat. Let's give you a few minutes. My dear colleagues, let me remind that you can place the questions in the broadcast chat Q&A. Let me read out a few questions that were sent to us earlier so that we can comment. One of the first questions was whether these presentation slides will be distributed in Russian and English and no other materials. Yes, indeed, they will become accessible once you register at the official website of the contest. You will get access to all the materials in Russian and English. Today's presentation will also be published in Russian in the Russian part of the website and in English in the English language part of the website. And you'll be able to use that information as well. The question is whether the Buga segment where the project will be implemented, Bugaskaya Kasa is part of the natural reserve. The question is whether all documents will be translated in both Russian and English. Yes, they are accessible in both languages. Some of those are accessible even without registration at the website. All documents would be translated. Please note that all materials are first becoming available in Russian, then being translated and becoming published in English as well. Next question, whether the webinar is being recorded and whether it would be accessible later. Indeed it is, and we would make it possible. Plus, frequently asked questions would be accumulated so that you would be able to access those. The file will be growing. We will be adding the generalized position on all questions so that you'll be able to work with that. I see we keep on receiving questions. Good. Let me wind back. Whether the construction of an underwater zone for diving is to be seen. Colleagues, are we expecting diving? Maybe Irina and Tatyana would be able to comment. Yes, at the Bugaskaya Kasa, we are having an interesting site for diving, Marina Magdalena. No special construction is expected there. But as a format for infrastructure for rentals, the equipment for diving can be offered. And certified coaches can be offering respective services. Let me remind that construction of underwater zone, especially that the territory of the Black Sea is located in the area of sanitary mountainous sanitary protection. In that sense, it can affect the protection area of the existing ecosystem. But if you can offer some solution and justifying it, it would be acceptable to consider for the contest. Next, special participant, would they be taking part in the Anapa on-site event and whether they would be presenting? Indeed, those special participants would be able to visit and would be able to present to in front of the jury on the final day. In that sense, the special participant finalist is getting the same opportunity as professional ones. Next question, could you please clarify what do you mean by calculation of preliminary technical and economic indicators of the territory to be designed? The question is probably to Irina, but first of all, let's say that a corporation for Tourism.RF has and with participation of others have a previewed serious analytical study of this area. In that sense, you can rely on serious background of analytical companies that have prepared the basis of the key parameters, research information that you can rely on when you would be developing your project. Maybe Irina, you could give a few more words about what you have prepared, because some were joining later on. Indeed, the work starts on the preparation of the financial model, calculation of economic justifications for the project, for the resort model. A lot of work is being done of the tourism corporation. Maybe they could make greater comments. Yes, analytical work, serious analytical work is being done at the moment, and we are trying to maximize the amount of information available to contestants so they would have the totality of the knowledge base they would be basing their solutions on. On top of the analytical information of the various limitations, specifics of the natural character, etc., which clearly should be accounted for. On top of that, we are doing engineering research in the total volume, geodesy, geology, ecological studies, etc., etc. All of that would be given out as preliminary information for the developers of the urban development solution. In that sense, we are maximizing, we are interested to provide as much as possible so that the developments of the proposals of the contest participants and the finalists would be applicable in practice. On top of what Tatyana has said, there is instruction of the government that we are following jointly with them on the development of the elements in the traditional styles of Eurasian Economic Community, Belarus, Armenia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, etc. So we would like to create respective architecture which is possible with the participation of both companies or investors from respective countries. In that sense, it should be counted for, and you should start developing certain expectations in this regard. That would probably be it on my part. Thank you very much for the comments. I do see that some of our participants are indeed expressing concerns whether the set of criteria for the special participant would be identical as for the professional ones. Not in this case. We will understand that the university student teams would not be able to make the identical work as the professional teams would be able to. In that sense, expectations for you are different. If you go into our website and you go into the special participant conditions, it's a simplified set of requirements. Nonetheless, it's not lowering the importance of your participation and your opportunities. Questions whether university students together with the architectural bureau young specialists can be working as one as a consortium. Well, of course, you can be joining forces in whatever formats. You can join forces with some professional bureaus and go as professional participants, or you can organize a team of yours and be a special participant. If you are a student of a university, look, you are having both opportunities. Just the format and the level of responsibility expected would be different. If you're creating establishing a creative team and coming in as a special participant, then you're responsible for the meeting the terms of reference, filing on time, and defending your thesis. That's one thing. If you'd like to join one of the large professional teams as in the category of one finalist, obviously it's an opportunity both as an internship, as an education, as well as contributing into large work of that would be responsible for bioarchitectural bureau. Or you can have a symbiosis. If it's architectural bureau of yours is created by young graduates, it's possibly a startup or whatever, you can come together as a team and come into special participant category as well. Well, on this next question, there is a yacht marina demonstrated. Keeping in mind the shallowness of the sea, the marina is located far away from the shore. So the question is, technical resolution for solution for the marina, is that at the discretion of the participant, or are you giving some specific criteria? Let me respond to Irina. We have looked at the options of the guest marina. It's removed from the border line from 535 meters. Ideal solution for the above water walkway to the marina connecting to the territory. In that sense, we would offer that calculated offered option as a basis. Thank you for the comment. Let's continue. Special participant, 5 relevant projects in the portfolio. Can they be contest or just from the designing experience? We understand that special participant might be just a student or a fresh graduate, but you in any architecture university are having an annual architectural internship, your fellowship, you are taking part in various contests for young specialists students. As a special participant in portfolio, you can demonstrate to us the projects you believe to be most relevant from your contest or student works. We would like to hear your strategy about the development of existing resorts, as well as the borderline base of the border control of the Russian Federation. There was some information in the JSON file. Could you please comment? Terms of reference are expecting this territory of the border service as it is. Plus, you can include it somehow in the project solution. There was a territory of the housing development in place as one of the function. The principle is you have to count existing community, the users, but it's acceptable to offer some redevelopment and modernization of this territory, assessment of the value with the possibility of buying out certain segments to use to offer various other types of users if you believe it's not used effectively at the moment. Thank you for the response. Let's move on to the next question. Is it possible to transform the existing logistics and relocate various areas, non-dominant ones, or maybe additional places such as underwater oceanarium, some islands, or etc.? Talking about functional model and zoning, secondary zones, non-dominant ones. It's once again, it's your project solution, the model that we have offered and we have put into prepared based on the various ecological and the laws, etc. That was, as Sergei has underlined, was a result of the analytical work that was conducted. The question of all the users of the pre-shore, near-shore territories, underwater, the islands is serious elements. We should remember about various protection zones in the beach side as well as water side, with some limitations on the placement of various facilities, as well as additional technical moments that all these surface works related to work underwater deepening or strengthening that would lead to serious intervention with ecosystem and damaging underwater currents, etc., which is shape as creating this territory. Once again, the main value of this territory are the sand beaches in between the sea and the liman, which are constantly being recreated thanks to the currents bringing and keeping the sand moving over. In that sense, solutions should be there, it should be implementable, effective, and the possibility of long-term operation without damaging ecological sustainability of the territory. Thank you, Tatyana. Maybe a few more words to complement Tatyana. Indeed, we've done a serious analytical work. We have studied all the limitations there in place, and the creation of additional objects in marina on top of the marina is something that is undesired and not planned for. In that sense, no aquarium, no oceanarium would not be placed in the water area, maybe so that everybody knows that from the start. Thank you very much, Vyacheslav Anatolievich. Next question. Do I understand correctly that detailed work and the results of the study would be provided to us on the second stage, or would they become accessible to us at the first filing stage, preparing? Dear colleagues, let us just make it clear once again. Tourism.RF Corporation is one of the leaders for the development of the territory. They have previewed and looked at a significant amount of analytical work for preparing for the contest. If we take a look at the overall contest practice, and I see many frequent participants of various contests, I would like to just announce that in this contest, you will get one of the record amounts of analytical data that was ever accessible to the participants coming to the contest of whatever. In that sense, corporation has done a lot, but it's important to understand that the amount of materials at first stage and the second stage is different. At first stage, we are giving the necessary basis, the minimal one, so that you can file a properly qualified application. The second stage, we have looked for a wider amount of materials that participants will get, additional materials where you will find answers to all possible ones, I would even say impossible questions. They have prepared, and I would say to 120% of possible answers. Your job is to look at preparing the best what you can do on your part. Second question, whether continuation of cooperation will be with the winner is expected and what format. Sounds like maybe you can reiterate yourself, possibly some are joining later. Dear colleagues, the contest is taking place in parallel with the development of the master plan of this tourist territory. The development of the master plan is to be completed in the first quarter of 2024. As a result of that work, investment lots will be established for the objects of tourism infrastructure. We expect there would be over 100. And we would be inviting investors to these to bid for these investment lots, and we would be implementing them together, keeping in mind all the support measures that the corporation has. In this sense, contest winners are getting wonderful opportunity to continue the work on this project, on the detailed design as well as construction stages. Thus, despite the fact that we are not guaranteeing to contest participants the possibility of continuing work, it is self-evident that the winners of the contest will be invited to work, be invited by the special project companies for the design and implementation of the project investment lots.
Thank you, and we move on to the next question. Do you have any information about the maximum height of the buildings? How many floors you can have in this territory? Oh yes, sure thing. We have limitations and we have a lot of regulations on this territory, and it's according to the documents which we have in this Anapa city. Yes, and you have to take them into account. Yes, of course, we have this information. Can this territory be enlarged through these artificially compacted areas? No, we don't have this option. We cannot go beyond its already existing line, coastline. In Krasnodar, we have a special limitation. The question is, do our design solutions have to take into account these existing limitations? Yeah, may I? Yes, in our area, we have regulations according to which the height of the building depends on the 100 meters from 21 meters and 30 meters from 30 to 500 meters. But let me assure you that the beach area is so that's probably minimum. This is what you can count on. As I see that the technical assignment questions are repeated a lot. Let me explain to you again. So our foreign partner asked us to clarify what about technical indicators, how we understand it. Yes. What exactly what information do you need? Okay, let me try to explain. During the preparation preliminary stage, we prepared technical economical indicators with the limitations of the density of the infrastructure, hotel infrastructure, which limits the area per resident, per tourist, and limitations of the tourist traffic. So these are the limitations. If we're talking about technical economical indicators within the, some kind of preliminary indicators. So here we have these calculations according to coefficients which exist in our regulations, and we apply them to the, according to engineering systems, water supply, energy supply, according to each object of infrastructure, transportation, the width of the roads, the number of parking places, then social infrastructure, number of people, and density of traffic in the public spaces. If we're talking about the indicators for the development of the green areas and public spaces, and talking about the possibility of, for example, building the sport infrastructure, children playgrounds. If we're talking about financial indicators for the project, so it's you can see them in our technical assignment, what exactly we expect, but there must be indicators which reflect the model which you plan to present with maybe you can propose several financial models, but you have to explain how it works. The payback period, the profitability, all these things must be reflected in the project. You have all explained it. I hope I answer your question. So what is the maximum number of participants in a student team? No limitations. We recommend you to have not less than 5 team members, and then you decide how many people you need as a special participant to solve this issue. Well, based on your own considerations. Do we have a list of the world trend or role models? In our technical assignment, we don't have this list, but we offer you to do it yourself, you can rely on your own choices of trends based on the examples which already exist in the world practice, world experience. So do we need financial models for each dominant? In technical assignments, as you see, we just have it for the project in general. But we understand that financial model cannot the financial model is comprised of the efficiency of its elements. So part of this payback periods will be helped by the budget help on the local budget, and so it all depends on the participants and their view how they can reflect it. But we recommend you to have a separate financial explanation for the profitability of each element of the project. Next question is about the road infrastructure. Can we change existing road infrastructure in order to make them more comfortable for pedestrians? Well, yes, of course, the already existing road infrastructure which we have in our preliminary analysis, it's just the idea, it shows the approaches to the transportation grid, or just explains the accessibility. Of course, when we talk about pedestrian paths, bicycle lanes, depending on the model which you will use, of course, it can be varied, can be changed. Thank you. Yes, please. And one more comment. Again, let me just tell you about two parallel processes. Yes, we do have our own approach to forming the transportation plan for this territory, but this approach is not a final one, and we keep developing this transportation concept, but it's not finished yet. So that is why the participants which will offer their solutions, so they will have to work in parallel with the developers of the master plan in order to get information about master planners' ideas and then take them into account while developing their own project. Thank you very much. It's a very, very valuable comment. And I also would like you, Irina, to comment again, what trends participants should use. But it's all, I know that your company, Commonwealth, worked a lot in studying the world trends. So what would you recommend? What I would prefer not to limit the ideas of the participants by the experience of our international success cases. And the main ideas in presentation, we just reflected. It must be a resort with the public spaces, comfort areas, and we just would like to, we don't want you to copy the Turkish experience with the highly concentrated and very dense resorts. How do you plan integrate this territory into the existing highway system? Because Anapa doesn't have a special plan of transportation development in this area. Okay, let me comment. It's well, in Anapa we don't have any special plan. So, but that means that we have to have these changes in the master plan for transportation. So, as I said, we plan together with the master planners to have this preliminary transportation planning, not just for this territory, but also for bigger road infrastructure. And of course, we plan to connect existing transportation arteries with the touristic territory. So that is why the main roads and the infrastructure inside this territory, yes, of course, we will do it, we'll develop it, and you will be given all this information in full. Thank you very much. And the question about let me comment about existing infrastructure. This list it's a special list of this, as Tatyana said, of that this territory. This we will give you the results a little later. We have very good question, final one. Do you understand it correctly that you just have to propose further development of the master plan? If we take your ideas as a foundation, develop architecture, preserve existing transportation infrastructure, follow the function zoning, and as a result, we just have this better architectural solutions than already existing one. I think Tatyana should comment first, and then Vyacheslav sum up. Tatyana, yes. So the current technical assignment, which I showed you, it says that you have to have alternative solutions for the functional model and for the detailed zoning of this territory, with the possibility to change existing model which we have now. So that is why you cannot say that we'll take care only architectural aspect in account. No. It should be just much more complicated work. And Vyacheslav, just to sum up our webinar, just the floor is yours. Well, yes, it was a good question to round up our today's discussion. And I would like to thank all colleagues and all participants who joined us today. And I believe that all participants got very good information in order to start work on application for participation, to participate in the first stage. We are looking forward to getting your applications. As for your question, so my comment is that we develop the complex territory, and that is why we study the tourist infrastructure, engineering infrastructure, transportation infrastructure, and we are expecting integrated solutions. And as a result of our work, we expect to have clear understanding of the strategy of the further development of the territory. Let me repeat again, this strategy is not just a virtual document. It is a very concrete, very specific plan of actions for years to come. And I said it several times already that as a result of this work, we plan to move on to practical implementation together with investors. And as for the contact and of this investment proposal, so it must be interesting enough for investors to make decisions about investment. So that is why the integrated approach, this is what we need. And thank you very much again. Dear colleagues, yes, we had very busy, very saturated webinar, more than 150 participants, and we believe to see and a lot of applications from you. Yes, it's a big, ambitious project, and this is the this is the end of our event, and thank you very much. Thank you very much. Special thanks for experts, for institutions and organizations who are involved in this kind of work. But thank you very much. Don't forget about the hotline, email, our site. We really want to answer your questions, and we will provide you consultations. Don't hesitate to ask any questions anytime. We're ready to explain to you, to help you, so that to prepare you for the competition and for the victory. Thank you very much.